I I spend so much time on something that is just flat out not working. What kills me is that this thing, it's not even important to the site. It's just one of those cool things, and I thought it was going to be so simple. My name is Ben Burns. I'm a designer, creative director, and father of the year. 5 years running. I'm on a journey to rethink, revamp, and redesign my personal website. It's the only project that I've never finished. It's time to get this built. Welcome to Built by Hand. In the last episode, I built the foundation for my website in Webflow. And where we left off, the site was basically finished, but it was pretty boring, to be honest. It's mostly functional, but it's nothing fancy. Everything was pretty flat. So what we need to do this time is to make the site more interesting by including animations and interactions. This episode is sponsored by Webflow. Webflow is a visual development tool that helps people create absolutely stunning websites using no code. I can't recommend this platform enough, and if you haven't given Webflow a try yet, head to thefutur.com/Webflow to sign up for your free account. I don't know about you, but I am fascinated by animation. It honestly feels like magic. My favorite way to procrastinate even is to surf awards.com and stare in awe at all the cool effects that the winning sites have. Now, before we nerd out together, I do want to flag something for you guys. It's gonna be like a flag on the play. Really good sites do not need fancy animations or visual effects. I'm gonna say it again. In order for your site to be a good website, it does not need to have fancy animations or visual effects. That being said, micro interactions and animations can make the experience of using a website way more delightful, but here's the truth. Pushing the bounds of what users expect from a website can actually make that thing harder to use for some people. It's like a balance that really depends on the project. A site that's crucial to business or that serves a vital part of a user's life, those things should prioritize usability over everything else. But my site, well, it's a passion project. And to be quite transparent, I just want it to look cool, right? I just want to do stuff for the sake of making something neat. I feel like I can roll the dice just a little bit with usability. And I want to try some of the more ambitious things that I've seen. I want images to load really dynamically and really interesting hover effects. Like, it'd be cool to do a dark mode switch or cursor takeovers, having things animate when they scroll into view. Sign me up for all of that. There's just a little bit of a problem. I don't know how to do any of it. I just finished Loki last night and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great, but here's what I realized. I don't know why. There's so many things to react to: the casting, the acting, the cinematography, the music, sound design. And I walked away with a pretty simple takeaway. That was good. And I think that the same thing is going on when I see a really nicely animated website. I know I like it, but I don't know why. I don't have the depth of understanding into that craft to actually know how that experience is created for people. Does that make sense? If you've never heard Ira Glass talk about the gap before, hit pause and go watch this video. We've talked about this before, that there's always a gap between the level of your taste and what you're able to create, and that's that level of skill that you have. And for this super extra animation stuff, there's a pretty big gap for me. I'm drawn towards all of the super fancy sites, but my skill as an animator is relatively low. But I do know that when it comes to animations and interactions, there are different levels to that stuff. Doing a nice hover effect on a button, that's easy mode. It gets trickier from there. Okay. Luckily, I do have just a little bit of experience in this basic animations and interactions thing. And if you've never tried animations in Webflow, it can feel a bit intimidating, but that's okay. Here's how the animation stuff works on a very basic level. So first things first, you have a trigger. Now this is the thing that starts the interaction process. And this can be if the user's cursor hovers over something on the page, or if they click on something, or if something scrolls into view. You can also set something to occur as the page scrolls or while the page scrolls, but I'm still a little fuzzy on how that's supposed to work well on different screen sizes, so I tend to stay away from that one. So for example, let's set this trigger to click. So after you set your trigger, you want to actually tell the platform what you want it to do after the trigger occurs. So we want to start an animation. Now I typically ignore all these default options and stick to custom animations here. Now, this pane is really handy because this part is a timeline, and the top is where the animation starts and the bottom is where the animation ends, and you can see the timeline play whenever you hit preview. So let's say we want to change the background color of the box that we clicked on. So we'll select the box, we'll hit the plus sign to add an action, and then we'll click background color. And then below, we'll edit the details of the action, like setting the new color that we want and setting how long we want the change to take. And then we'll make the movement just a little bit more natural looking using easing, which changes the speed of that element over time. And that's it. See, it's pretty easy. Now the great thing is that you can add as many actions as you want to nearly anything on your site, all in one animation and all in one timeline. So if we want multiple things to happen, we just add them to the timeline. So we'll go ahead and add a few more actions here. Move this box as well. Change this. And that's it, all in the same timeline. So we'll go to preview and click our trigger. That's it. See how that works? One click, many things happen, and we just created an animation in Webflow. It's super, super simple. When I started this phase of the project, I knocked out a few things that I had already figured out from stuff that I'd done in the past. On text links, for example, I had the underline slide off the canvas and then back on. And that was pretty simple, and I think it looks pretty good. For my menu, I also did something very similar to what I made on the Futur's website. So when you click on the hamburger icon, the navigation opens, covers the whole page, and then it reveals all the links inside. I figured out the menu. So there's a couple of different things in the menu. It opens, it closes. So here we go. I changed the color scheme, obviously, to be opposite of the body. So whatever the body is, the background of the menu is going to be opposite. So it opens and it closes. I think I'm going to have it close the other way because it feels like it wants to come out of the left side and then retreat back into the left side. So that was done. The hovers are working pretty well. The only thing I need to fix here is that you see a flicker of the default image every time you go to the next hover. Then it was time to tackle something that I'd never done before, the dark mode switch. All right. Okay. Today's the day that I start working on the dark mode, light mode switch, and I'm actually feeling pretty confident about the development side of things. It's going to be a button, and then I'll have Webflow switch the background colors and the text color on the page. It should be super, super simple. The only tricky thing, though, is to actually animate the individual button. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do this exactly. Here's what I want to do here. I've got this little toggle switch that I designed, and when it's in light mode, the little dot is actually a sun, right? And then when you click it over to dark mode, I want the dot to move over and become a moon shape. Now, I could probably try and animate all of these little tiny things in Webflow, but that would be intense. Like the circus. Get it? Intense. Doing that would be super heavy. Like, you'd probably need 40 or 50 actions just to make that happen in one direction. And then you'd have to reverse it, and that's a lot of little things that could break. So I think instead I need to have a graphic animated before I bring it into Webflow. From what I gather, the best way to do this is actually to make a Lottie file out of this. And this is a web optimized animation file. So think of it like a GIF, right? It's an animation that plays from start to finish, but Lotties are vector-based, which means they're super light and they can be resized super easily. And yeah, it's GIF, it's not GIF. GIF is peanut butter.
GIF creamy? definitely has staying power inside your mouth.
If you agree with me, take a stand right now. I want you to take a stand and hit the like button. Okay? Let's smash it, because it's not GIF, people.
For the peanut butter perfection that's happening all beside your mouth.
And if you think it's GIF, just go ahead and hit dislike and then leave. I'm just kidding. Please don't leave. Watch the whole video. We want you to stay. Oh boy. My understanding is that you make Lottie animations using After Effects. I've actually never opened After Effects. Ever. Oh no. Oh. Okay. I'm gonna need some help. What's up, everybody? It turns out I actually hit the wrong button. I was gonna intro Greg Gunn here, and I had this whole thing prepared where I was gonna say he's a heavy metal guitarist. He's an illustrator extraordinaire and all this kind of stuff, but then I hit the wrong button and here he is. So welcome, Greg.
I like this low-key intro a lot better.
Yeah.
It sets the bar where it should be.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm stoked to have you on stream. And guys, today what we're going to be doing is some After Effects work. So I have literally never opened After Effects until this morning. Something that still needs to be done, still needs to be created, is this light mode and dark mode switch here. And this just does not work. The functionality works, but it doesn't do anything. So we need to be able to animate this so it actually makes sense when this thing is on and when the lights are off.
Ben, do you wanna walk me through what you want to have happen here?
Yeah.
What's the end goal with this animation? What are we after?
So I think let's put hover effects aside. If we click the toggle, the dot here that is the sun, like let's say the light mode is on, the dot would move down and become the moon, and then the stars would appear. So it'd be like the dot is the thing that's moving up and down because it's a toggle, and then the accessories to the dot happen after it settles into place or as it's settling into place. Gotcha.
The way I like to start every is what I guess you would call blocking. So, just like drawing or anything else, you want to start big and then work your way into like smaller details, right? So if I'm looking at this, I think the big thing, the like fundamental driving force of this animation is the dot, the circle that's like toggling, from on to off and such. So I think we start there. I think it looks good.
I think it looks good. This is good enough for R1, I think.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have some more adventures after the project's done with this thing, because I was thinking about like how could we make this so like the moon kind of spun around a little bit at the end. But I think this right here is plenty enough for a 30 pixel wide toggle button. Funny enough, that process wasn't as intimidating as I thought it'd be. I'm gonna be learning more about After Effects, and I think I'm actually gonna start with our very own Animation for Designers course. I've actually never taken that before. There's a link in the description if you wanna check that out and actually take that course with me. I think I'm gonna start in a couple weeks. All right, so now that I've got my Lottie file of the actual switch turning on and off and all the elements inside animating, I need to bring that file into the site and set up the interaction that will actually control and change the colors on my website. It sounds a lot more complex than it is. Honestly, from where I'm sitting, it should be really easy.
72 hours later.
Well, I messed up. I spend so much time on something that is just flat out not working. What kills me is that this thing, the dark mode switch, it's not even important to the site. It's just one of those cool things, and I thought it was going to be so simple. Man, I went into this with this really, really simple solution, and I just overlooked something absolutely critical. And basically actually here, let me show you. Okay. As you can see, I've got everything set up in Webflow. When you click on the switch, the Lottie plays, and then all the stuff on screen, it changes colors, so it works. And I spent a ton of time getting all of this timed perfectly, went through the entire site to make sure I was getting all of the color assignments just right, like these borders and everything. At first glance, it looks great on the front end, but then watch this. When you click a link or refresh the page, it reverts back to light mode. I didn't even think about this, and it was like, so frustrating. This bug would be excruciatingly annoying, to an end user. And at this point, I have no idea how to fix it. So my brain is kind of fried. I think that's going to be it for me tonight. All right, so I hit a brick wall. I've been trying to figure out how to keep the changes that you make with Webflow animations and interactions, even if the page is reloaded or if you go to a different link. Guys, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this without some custom code. And with that being said, it's time to call in the big dogs. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to meet Timothy Ricks, aka Tricks, aka the Wizard of Webflow. And if you haven't seen one of his incredible tutorials, you are missing out. Tim is a wonderful person, a great designer, and an expert in Webflow, and I feel fortunate to call him a friend. Tim actually heard that I was struggling, and he volunteered to help. Tim's first solution was elegant.
And what I would do is open up your embed inside Global. And we have all this mode 2. What I would do after that mode 2 body noise one, we'd just create a new line and target the same mode 2 class again.
When you click the switch, the Lottie played from the beginning to the end and then paused at the end. And then through a little piece of custom code, we added a class name to the page body, which switched all the colors for us. And then that same piece of code added a cookie to the user's browser, which helped the browser remember if the user was on light mode or dark mode. Genius. There was one problem.
So it's not the same color. That is one disadvantage.
Mm-hmm. And then it's inverting, but the color change is built into the Lottie.
Yeah, that's interesting.
each time you went to the new page, the colors worked correctly, but the Lottie file would rewind and go back to the beginning, which meant that if you're on dark mode, it basically disappeared. We could, as the page transitions and then mode 2 is applied, could switch the class or something where a different Lottie, a separate Lottie is shown.
That's brilliant, Ben. I don't know why I didn't think of that. That's exactly what we need to do. I think that'll solve all our problems.
The idea was to have 2 toggle switch animations on the screen. One that started at the very beginning and played forward, and then one that started at the end and played backward. And each time you click the button, they would both play, but only one would be visible at any given time. So when the dark mode class was added or removed, we would just switch out which Lottie was hidden. And that way it would always show the right switch color. But honestly, we had no idea if it would work.
Something happened there.
Second click.
Second click messed up.
Second click, gotta return it to the original state.
And it didn't return because we have initials. So if we remove the initials, are we going to be in the same boat again, or are we?
Yeah.
What if we just delete them all together? I'm wondering if we even need them. I think.
Yeah, because one has to begin at 100% and play backwards.
Yeah.
Holy hell, my brain hurts.
Me too.
At this point, we had been at this for hours. It was getting into the wee hours of the morning, and I think that Tim and I were both ready to just hang it up. But then,
let's see if it works. And it doesn't do anything. One click.
Okay, I'm seeing the right switch.
Okay.
Seeing the right switch.
Okay.
Okay, ready? Refresh.
Okay. So nervous. Boom.
We did it!
We did it.
And that just goes. Dude, that was a beast.
That was insane, I have to say. I was not expecting that at all.
2 designers try and pretend to be developers and end up smashing their head against the wall.
I love it, yeah.
Emerge victorious but bloodied. That felt so good, right? For me, there's no better feeling than cracking a difficult problem. And after all that stuff was figured out, I actually decided to move on to some other really cool effects, like having the cursor change if you hovered over a specific element like a slider, or having images animate in when they scroll into view and open like a window, or even revealing certain images when you hover over different things. You know, I also spent a lot of time on small effects like form labels that move out of the way when you click into a field. There was too much to cover everything in detail in this one episode, but if you see something that you want a full tutorial on, let me know in the comment section. And if I used a tutorial to build it, I'll link that in the description below so that way you can follow the original tutorial. All in all, I am super happy with where I'm at with the site at this point. You know, everything feels exactly how I wanted it to feel, and in this process, I also feel like I narrowed the gap just a little bit. You know, my level of skill inched just that much closer to the level of my taste. But I wouldn't have even come close to being able to do this without help from Tim and Greg. You guys were instrumental in getting these things done, and I thank you for your time. See, knowledge is everywhere in today's internet era. It's easier to learn new things now more than ever, but knowing what to learn, knowing what to look for, that's the new challenge. And sometimes it's like looking for a needle in a haystack without knowing what a needle looks like. And that's where I really value having friends like Tim and Greg who know a heck of a lot more about this stuff than I do. We all need to find people that we can lean on, especially when we get stuck. Even if they don't know the answer, they might be able to point you in the direction of where that needle might be, right? And I think that this is something that I personally need to remember, is that even in built by hand, you know, when I'm doing everything myself, I don't think that do it yourself needs to mean do it alone. So get out there, make friends, contribute to a community in a meaningful way. And those relationships will help you a lot in the long run. Now, speaking of community, Webflow has one of the most supportive online communities in their help forums. If you get stuck on a Webflow project, you can get help just by posting something there. Just remember to return the favor and help somebody else out. Now, if you haven't tried Webflow yet, give it a shot. Go sign up for a free account at thefutur.com/Webflow. I cannot wait to see what you guys make. Next episode, I have some bad news. Next episode will be the last. The finale. The finale. I know, it's sad. It is. But there's only one thing left to do. For this website, it's to create content. That means writing copy and taking photos and building case studies and bringing everything into the site and getting ready to hit that publish button. No pressure. I'll see you then, but in the meantime, remember, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to share my journey through this process. So pick up what you need, leave what you don't, find the process that works for you. All right, guys, it's time for you to get back to work. Remember, I want you to go out there and crush it. You got this. We love you, and we'll see you next time.